Welcome to City National Arena here in downtown Summerlin, Nevada. It is the kickoff of Development Camp presented by Martin Harris Construction. This is Dan Duva alongside Ashley Weiss. We have hockey players and competition after a couple of days of practice and introductions. Actually, we're going to see some head-to-head competition in a scrimmage. Red team against white, and we will have all the play-by-play across the Golden Knights streaming outlets over the next little bit. Lots to talk about. And boy, oh boy, hockey in July.
Yep, it's great to be watching hockey again, talking hockey again. Nothing like it. Great to be back in this building with you, of course, Dan. It's just a really special week. You have from, first-round picks to undrafted free agents and everywhere in between, just looking for an opportunity to showcase what they can do. And really the point of this camp is just to really these players get an idea of what it means to be a part of the Golden Knights organization. So it's a great way to kick it off on and off the ice.
Yeah, we chatted with Bruce Cassidy just a little while ago. We chatted with Will Nichol and some of his staff earlier this afternoon too, and also chatting with some of the players themselves over the last couple of days. The introductions are not only for the players to each other, the players to the organization, But, Bruce Cassidy was telling us, like, he's getting to know who some of these guys are, too.
Exactly. It's a process that he enjoys as well, and it's certainly a process that the players really enjoy. You mentioned that they've already had some practice under their belt. They got on the ice with Bruce Cassidy and his coaching staff yesterday, so a really good chance for them to understand how an NHL practice is run, and now have a chance to try to stand out in front of the head coach of the Golden Knights, Bruce Cassidy.
And not every organization has the NHL staff working with the development camp players.
Exactly. Bruce Cassidy was actually saying in Boston that was not the case. He was also saying development camp was not a thing back in his playing days, and he wishes that it was, not only from what they will gain from it on the ice, but the other things that they'll learn from nutrition, learning how to make the meals to help you gain the good kind of weight, working with the strength and training team, things of that nature. So, yeah, a really good opportunity for them to have the FaceTime with members all up and down the organization and get to know each other. That's another thing he pointed out, getting to know players that they might not otherwise.
And the friendships that begin now, it's almost like going away to college or going away to boarding school or summer camp, something like that. These guys might spend a week together, but when they go back home, they'll keep in touch, whether, texting or social media. But a lot of these guys will be then playing against one another, whether it's in the college ranks, whether it's in the junior ranks, or, they'll be following each other's careers. And then as perhaps additional Golden Knights hockey events take place, maybe rookie camp, etc., these guys are beginning relationships now. And some of these guys have been here for more than one camp. We're just laughing earlier about some of the guys who are, not only returning for the second, but even their third. You remember meeting Joe Fleming 3 years ago, and he is back with his big personality and fun, not only to see the growth of, say, Joe or any of the other players back for multiple years as they've grown as hockey players, but also their personalities too.
Yeah, without a doubt. He's definitely one that stands out. We were even talking to some of the newest members of the Golden Knights organization, the draft picks, and they're already dropping Joe Fleming's name as the big guy in the sewer ball competition. He's top dog in that category. But you mentioned the relationships as well. You think about guys like Zach Whitecloud and Nick Hague, who worked their way up through the organization together, remain such good friends, remain deep partners. Those are the kinds of relationships that get developed.
It starts here, and we couldn't tell you exactly who among this group, and we'll introduce you to the players. And not all of the players in development camp are involved in today's scrimmage. There will be another scrimmage on Saturday, but with all the players, they've broken it into multiple sessions of practice and multiple scrimmages as well. But you never know, Ashley, which couple of guys or handful of guys we might talk about today, introduce you to today, could be a part of this organization, and we'll be reflecting on them 5 years from now. Say, remember back in 2024 when these guys first donned the Golden Knights sweater. And for several of these guys, it is their first time putting on that logo, and what it must mean to have no longer defending Stanley Cup champions, but recent Stanley Cup champion Golden Knights logo on the front of their sweater.
Yeah, and Bruce Cassidy pointed it out as well. He says, I have time for the guys, not just the first rounders, any guy. Because like you said, you don't know who it's going to be in 5 years that he might be working with. You just never know. And you mentioned Joe Fleming's name. He came in as a free agent in 2022 and ended up earning a spot at this exact camp, signing just a couple months later. So those are the kind of stories that we'll be looking for. It's what makes it exciting. Like you said, first scrimmage happening early in the week, another one on Saturday, lots of on-ice practices in between, volunteer work in between, team bonding in between. So it's a really good week to start.
Yeah, and it's a change from the norm for these players who've ended their seasons weeks or in some cases months ago to go back home. They're working with their buddies. They're at their local rink. But now they come change things up and get to play with some top prospects. And here we go, underway in our first period of the first scrimmage. And we'll give you some play-by-play as we talk through everything that happens here. But we'll also introduce you to some of the players as they come on the ice. You've got a red team and a white team. Introduce you to probably a name that you'll want to be following. Trevor Connolly is wearing number 24 with Jacob Rabinitz and Matthew Cataford. That's the top line for the white team. Notably, Trevor Connolly, of course, first-round pick, 19th overall just a few days ago. And Ashley, I'd imagine that a number of people are excited to see the Knights' first-round pick from this season put on a Golden Knights sweater for the first time. Again, Trevor Connolly will be wearing number 24 in white. You see him right there in the middle of your screen as the white team breaks out from left to right. Rabinet's the player who gets it into the zone.
Yeah, you mentioned Trevor Connolly. We talked to Will Nichol, who will be joining us in the first intermission as well, and he had a lot to say about just the fact that it's already been a really good week with him to this point. He's had a lot of conversations with his head coach back in Tri-City, and there's been a lot of comparisons. Even Trevor himself compared himself to Kyle Connor, if that gives fans kind of an idea of what kind of player you can expect to get out of him.
Kyle Connor, that's pretty good. As any player coming up will have a certain degree of a hero or someone they model their game after. And that's not always the same person. You might be a small, speedy forward who really admires a goal or something like that. You can't necessarily model your game off of your favorite play. As that puck comes out of play. Goaltenders today, as we get a chance to see the red team in action down to our right. I think we'll have Carl Lindbaum in net for the red team down to our right. There's Carl, who was a 2021 draft choice of the Golden Knights.
He had a really good year in Sweden, put up good numbers. We're hoping to have him over here in the fall, but definitely a goaltender that the organization's been very, very pleased with his development.
Over in Färjestad last year in Sweden, 17-7 record in 26 games. 21 years old at 6 feet and 186 pounds. So that's the goaltender for Team Red down to our right. You can see the defense regroup. Here's Alex Pino, the defenseman, paired today with Austin Zemlak. We'll get the puck into the offensive zone for the white team. And the turnaround try just off target from Shane Smith, number 74, out of Medicine Hat, the WHL.
Will Nichol made a joke to us. Coming from Medicine Hat, Tim Speltz, of course, the general manager of the Henderson Silver Knights, was the GM in Medicine Hat for 2 years, many, many years ago. So that's certainly someone I'm sure the organization will be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, there are a number of players who have earned their spots, but a couple might have gotten a little bump from those kinds of connections. Jesper Vikman, the goalie, number 32 for Team White, down to our left. Jesper, of course, with Henderson last year, record of 6-9-2 in the 19 games that he played, drafted in 2020 by the Golden Knights. So Jesper watching play to his left develop along the boards.
The development staff was telling us that the plan was for him to have the net in Savannah, but plans changed because of the injuries with the Golden Knights this year that kind of changed the goaltending trajectory for Henderson. So he had to go up and down a little bit more than expected, but someone that the coaching staff, including Golden Knights goalie coach Sean Burke, is really excited about.
Well, that's the interesting part about these scrimmages, actually. The people who have scouted and watched these guys at their various levels, whether it's a junior or overseas or in college, and a couple even coming out of prep school, high school age, that they are getting now to see these players go up against a certain level of talent in a system, going through drills that are Golden Knights drills. It's not your, say, Brown University matchup. This is now you're getting to see guys at a different level.
It's a great point, and it's also a testament to how hard the Golden Knights scouts work on a daily basis. They're watching guys for 4, 5, 6 years, and then all of a sudden a guy might pop, and that's how he gets the invite to camp eventually. But so many people behind the scenes working non-stop, keeping an eye on these guys for years and years.
Matthias Sapovalic, number 25, centering that top line. Drafted a couple of years ago in the second round, and with Saginaw last year in the OHL. Seeing him there with Ben Hemmerling and Will Nichol as the puck ends up out of play. We're 4 minutes into what is the first period of our scrimmage. A little look there at Jesper Vikman going for a stroll. That is a late adjustment. Jordan Gustafson was expected to be on that line with Sapovalic and Hemmerling, but Will Nichol will get in that spot today. And Gustafson, we expect perhaps another time.
I guess we can also let people know it's 3 20-minute periods, stop clock, no power plays or penalty kills, but might be some penalty shots. So get ready for that.
Penalty shots, drama. You know, the power play is always something that fans will talk about. We want to see what does a power play look like, but you know, that takes a lot of practice, a lot of work. These guys have basically yet to figure out each other's names, let alone what they might want to do on a power play setup and who might be more deserving of those spots than others. So they're going through systems. They're figuring out what it means to play in the style of the Golden Knights, as we talked about earlier with Bruce Cassidy and the entire staff. working with these young players, some of whom are familiar with the organization, having played in the AHL or the ECHL over the last season or two. But some are getting their first dose of playing in an NHL sweater, albeit at development camp.
Yeah, they told us there might be some guys who feel like they're drinking water from a fire hose at times, but that's the best way to learn. That's the best way to learn, I guess.
John Prokop, the defenseman, to dump it in out of Union College. Invite here for development camp.
Runs the power play there at Union College as well. Speaking of power play, which we won't see today, but nonetheless.
Got to talk recently with one of the players whose names we have not mentioned yet, but is on a power play at Brown, Tyler Koch. And one of his Brown teammates is also in action today, but on the other team. Alex Pino is in Team White, and Tyler Koch is on Team Red. But they had, as described to me, a pretty power play setup when Brown was playing Northeastern, and Cameron Whitehead, who's a goalie for Team Red, though he's not playing right now, and Cameron Whitehead made a spectacular save and spoiled the power play setup for those guys. We have Brown facing off against Northeastern, with a year Northeastern had this year, and Cameron Whitehead, big part of that, of course.
Stick around for the second intermission. We have a nice feature that we're going to show about Cameron Whitehead as we caught up with them on the road this year while in Boston.
That'll be fun. We'll have some second intermission features. In our first intermission, we'll hear from Will Nichol, who oversees the development of Golden Knights amateur players. His travel calendar is crazier than anybody's I know. The Scouts are at a lot of games. The Golden Knights and, say, the American League, ECHLers, they travel to play games. But Will Nichol bounces around all of North America and sometimes beyond to see these guys wherever they're playing, whether it be college or junior. And boy, imagine how many frequent flyer miles Will Nichol has racked up over the years.
And what's incredible, and he will never admit this, but we talk about all the different people who are coming in at any given time and getting to know all of these players, and it's so many new names, so many new faces. Will Nichol knows every single one of them and has a personal relationship with every single one of them. It's extremely impressive, and he has a smile on his face while doing it. One of the best people in the organization, without a doubt.
Fleming sets up Brabenetz. And from the corner, the white team continues to cycle the puck, put it out in front, but that attempt is stifled. Arthur Cholash with Joe Fleming is the pair for the white team as they begin to change. The red team trouble getting through the neutral zone. Have to go back and retrieve this dump in. Sloan Stanek had head back to try to get that puck out of the zone, but the white team has control. And back out to center. Let's see if we get some scoring here, Ashley. You wonder about the opening 10 minutes of this scrimmage, and a drive is wide of the net. Good look for Pinard, the lefty slapper who was in Savannah for much of last year, now 23 years old, and 24 goals in 59 games this season. Guys are just getting settled in. Many of them have not played a competitive game in weeks or even longer. It's one thing to practice, it's another thing to play in a game.
And there's certainly some nerves going, which is to be expected, but in terms of what Bruce Cassidy looks for, we asked him, what makes someone stand out to you, and in this situation, it's the pace of execution. That's what he said. He said a lot of these guys could do a lot of the things slow. It's a matter of how quickly you can execute. So that's what he's looking for, but understandably, I think they all expect him to take a few minutes to settle in here.
You can see we're nearing the halfway mark of this first period. About 8 or so minutes into this first period of development camp scrimmage. Powerful hit in the neutral zone. Right down beneath us. Why don't you listen in now for a moment or two to some of the sounds from inside City National Arena's featured rink as red team and white team face off here in the opening 10 minutes of our scrimmage here at development camp. Greetings once again at City National Arena. You are watching live coverage of Development Camp presented by Martin Harris Construction. Dan Duva with Ashley Weiss with you. 12 minutes into this first period of 3 in the first of 2 scrimmages at Development Camp. No scoring for either side so far. Back and forth we go, Ashley.
Seeing the pace pick up a little bit here.
You took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, exactly right. As guys get their feet under them to gain pace. There's the shot on and a stop for Carl Limbaugh.
You can see that the fans in Vegas were hungry for some hockey as well, as I think you can see as the camera goes back and forth. It's a pretty good crowd here, so a reminder that scrimmage on Saturday is open to the public as well.
Even if it's just relief from the heat.
No kidding. The contrast between outside and inside the hockey rink in Vegas in July is something.
Tyler Kopp had a look at one end. Now Matthew Cataford at the other end for Team White. And stops by each goaltender.
You know, it might be lame, Dan, to talk about the weather, but I will say almost one of the first thing that comes out of almost every prospect's mouth that has not been to Vegas before when you ask their thoughts is it's hot.
It is hot.
Every year.
Yes, yes. Got to see a number of the prospects checking into Red Rock. There's a shot on, and Mikeman makes another save. The prospects arriving here in Las Vegas, and of course the City National Arena facility is just around the corner from Red Rock, so the organization rolling out the red carpet for the guys as they arrive, sort of like, as I said earlier, it's kind of like checking into summer camp.
Yep.
You know, sort of an initiation. This is where you go. This is what you do. This is where you're supposed to show up. And Will Nichol was there with a number of other support staff folks, scouts, and I tell you, Nick Holden, former Golden Knight defenseman, he's now part of the player development program with the Knights as a coach. And there he was. He looked like a host at a restaurant as he was greeting people coming into Red Rock on Sunday afternoon. And then hit the ice here at City National Arena.
They're already impressed with the impact he's had on some of the prospects as well. Joe Fleming is a name in particular. They said Nick Holden's already had a big impact on in terms of just helping them understand how to use his emotion in the right way.
Some of the guys are curious what this would be like. You know, what's the message that you get from the Golden Knights? You know, Will Nichol is often that first point of contact. And the message is, don't be nervous. You know,
easier said than done,
right,
I can imagine.
Easier said than done. Bruce Cassidy shared with us a little bit about that. You're always going to be a bit nervous when you're entering a new situation with people and an environment that you're not familiar with. Once you go on the ice, that just sort of dissipates.
Bruce Cassidy also pointed out that once you're on the ice, it's an equal playing field. Doesn't matter who was a first-round pick, doesn't matter who's a free agent. And it's funny, you talk about just the whirlwind. I think about what Lucas Van Vliet said yesterday. He was the 7th-round pick of the Golden Knights this year. He's picked in the 7th round, has a 4-hour flight to Vegas on Sunday, as a development camp by Monday. Really no time to stop and think about what's actually going on around you, although he said a lot was going through his mind during the 4-hour flight out here.
Boon for the Knights to have the draft here in Las Vegas. There were some NHL teams, of course, who were here for the draft the other day. And for free agency starting on Monday, I just stayed out here. Meanwhile, the Knights have their staff here for the draft and now for development camp as well. And the pro staff as well for the first day of free agency. There's Joe Fleming. Joe had a taste of the American Hockey League down the stretch last year, Ashley, after getting a lot of time in the ECHL with Savannah. It's always a tricky thing, you know, that unlike, say, in baseball where you've got AAA, AA, high A, low A, it's not the same in hockey. Prospects will often go to the American Hockey League or they'll stay in the junior ranks. If you're in the ECHL, it's AA hockey. ECHL highly respected, but it is the lowest level of professional hockey in the United States. And boy, you want to move on to that American League level. You want to stick in the AHL. But, as Will Nichol told us, with a deep organization, some of these players will have to be in the ECHL. And then when they're called up, injuries to the Golden Knights, injuries to the Silver Knights, then those guys get their opportunity. It's a matter of how they take advantage of those opportunities.
That's something he said about Joe Fleming as well. Said he had to come up and down a lot because of the injuries on the Vegas Golden Knights side, left openings on the Henderson side, and he was coming up and down but wasn't quite getting into the Henderson lineup until the very end, and he got in for 2 games. But they said he looked like a veteran out there. So that's what it's about, waiting your turn and then taking advantage of the opportunity when it presents itself.
Puck gets past Abel Weed, who goes back out to the blue line for the red team. And we back up ice to send it on down. We're inside the final 4 minutes. No score between Team White and Team Red at development camp. Wrist shot comes on net, and Limbaugh makes the save with the left pad. A follow-up opportunity from down low, and another save. Pinard with that opportunity, the lefty, the right side of the crease.
He also had a few call-ups to the Henderson Silver Knights this year, which was part of the plan, Will Nichol told us. They are reminding him to shoot more because they like his shot, so keep an eye on that as this goes on.
All those little tidbits, and you know that is coming from like Will and some of the other scouts, the amateur level, whereas the guys who are coaching right now that are like Bruce Cassidy and company, they don't have the same breadth of knowledge. They're just getting to know some of these players. So a lot of that stuff, conversations that are happening off the ice. A wrist shot comes on, and another save for Limbaugh. As we get into the final minutes of this first period, we've been talking about Will Nichol, who is just a wealth of information. Actually, he's great for us to talk to. He's great for the players to talk to. And he will be joining us live here in Studio 31 at the conclusion of this first period. Alex Pino from Brown got it across for the look from Zemlak, and that one turned away. And I can't imagine being in a situation as, say, an 18-year-old trying to turn pro, trying to make a mark in an organization. All the questions that might come along with it. What a nice response for the Golden Knights to have someone like Will Nichol and the rest of the staff, but Will is that primary point of contact. Just an easy guy to talk to. We talked about all the work that he puts in, but just an easy person to talk to, always with a smile or a joke, just seems to put these guys at ease.
Yeah, there to answer anything at any time, even if it's questions from us. I will say that as if managing all of these prospects isn't enough work for him, then he has us asking him questions. Asking for that inside info and gives so much of it. So appreciated.
From the draw, control for the white team at first, and some board battles. You're going to see those board battles. That's where that hard work mentality can be shown off. Not everybody's going to have, let's say, the high skill of a top round draft choice. As we mentioned, some of these guys have barely completed their high school careers, but you can show off your work along the boards. Those battles, that effort.
Those are the things, and you think about a guy like Joe Fleming when you're talking about that as well. And the way he earned his contract here just a few years ago. A couple of years ago, I should say.
From the point, Pino gets the wrist shot through. It ends up wide.
Few good looks for Pino so far.
Yeah.
You know, we were told not a lot of thrills, hard to play against, but showing some offensive side to his game.
Brown University, 7 goals and 15 points in 30 games at Brown. Standing at 6'1", 203 pounds.
He told us they feel like his game can really translate to pro hockey eventually.
So here's the top line for Team White. Rabbinets with Trevor Connolly and Matthew Cataford.
My bad. No worries.
It ends up around behind. Noah Ellis on defense. He's in Nebraska Omaha. Limbaugh aggressive, keep it away from his crease, and the puck back to neutral ice. Fleming heading back, and the whistle for icing with just under a minute to go in the first period. 0-0, Team White and Team Red. We'll see how they split up the goaltending duties today, Ashley. Carl Lindbaum, you see there. Marco Billick and Cameron Whitehead are also on the Team Red roster. Leonard Neese is the number 2 goalie for Team White today, with familiar face Jesper Vikman starting him there. Cataford trying to step in and keep the puck in the zone, but the red team breaks out. Nearly had an odd man entry. The white team recovers. Vikman to his left, couldn't seal it. Picked off in the slot on a back check. Zemlak, not Zemlak, but Connolly cutting back from neutral ice. And a first-round pick from just days ago. Helps out on the defensive side with 20 seconds to play in the period. From the corner, that will do it for the period.
About as to be expected, would you say, Dan? A little time to get going. Pace picks up as it goes, and you imagine it'll continue to pick up as the second and third periods go on?
You would think so, and especially for the higher end guys, you're trying to make plays, and you've got built-in chemistry. One player that you've had at school or your junior team, now you're learning the tendencies of others. That's not always easily accomplished in practice. It takes some gameplay.
Not to mention when there was only one practice, full practice yesterday. That's something you kind of like how they do the scrimmage early in the week and then another one late in the week. Saturday, the very last day to send it off. It really gives you an idea, I guess, a way to quantify how much the players have grown from start to finish.
Welcome back inside Studio 31. Dan Duva, Ashley Weiss with you. Martin Harris Construction presenting Development Camp here in 2024. Day 2, officially, of Development Camp. From what we saw, the practices yesterday, most of the guys arriving on Sunday. And here are the first scrimmage after some practices earlier today. A lot of off-ice stuff. And fun to see some back and forth, some actual hockey here. Just a couple days into July. And boy, we're going to get to see some more practice, and then on Saturday, they'll cap it off with another scrimmage.
Yeah, and that's where you'll really get to see how much players have grown from this early scrimmage to on Saturday. And then when they leave, this is what it, what it's really about is when they leave, they'll meet with Will Nichol, they'll meet with the development staff, and they'll have bullet points that this is what we want you to work on. This is what we want to see, this time next year, whatever it might be. And so, again, not only do they get that face time, but they get real feedback of, what it's going to take, to become an NHL player, whether that's on the ice, whether that's putting on the weight. That's for a lot of these guys, that's a big part of it, is just putting on that muscle and that weight. Some of these guys have big frames, but they just have to grow into them still, things like that.
Yeah, I just talking with Tyler Koff the other day, who is listed at 6'4". When he committed to Brown, he was 5'10". And just to think about the growth that happens at this age, and then guys who are, you have some players, Ashley, who if they were on the Golden Knights roster, would qualify as the tallest ever, right? We've got Kate Alami, who's 6'7.5".
That is
Arizona
taller
State.
than Nick Hague, to put that into perspective.
Yeah, and then just as you would see when Nick Hague was in this situation, you got to fill out, you got to get big, and the forwards, then defensemen, then goaltenders take time to develop. Some of that is the on-ice skill, but then it's also your body filling out. So here in the first intermission, we're expecting Will Nichol to join us in just a little bit. Do we have Kelly McCrimmon's comments? Let's hear from Kelly McCrimmon, the general manager, who spoke with the media recently about a number of topics, including development camp.
I'm sure everybody's going to be watching development camp here this week. It's a really important week for the organization, for our scouting staff. We've got a lot of the key people from our amateur staff are here, our player development people are here, our pro scouting staff are in town because of free agency as well as development camp. It's a great opportunity to see the progression from one year to the next for the players that are here for the second or third time. It's a good opportunity for our organization to look at college free agents, so we look forward.
Yesterday, all about development camp. We will hear from Will Nichol in just a moment. One other thing that has happened since yesterday, the schedule has come out. Vegas Golden Knights 2024-2025 schedule is now available. They did announce at the league level that the night's home opener would be on October 9th at T-Mobile Arena against the Colorado Avalanche. We now have all 82 games. Head to VegasGoldenKnights.com to check out the entire schedule. Available now, just released today. Once again, we welcome you here to Studio 31 at City National Arena. Dan Duva, Ashley Weiss, and joined by Will Nichol. Will, the listeners to our broadcast so far feel like they've known you for years.
Oh, yeah.
We've been talking about you for
We're not supposed
so
to
much
tell
of this
them
broadcast.
that, Dan. He doesn't like that.
Yeah, well,
like
you know,
when
we've had this great relationship going on now for a number of years, but there might be some Golden Knights fans who are tuning in to development camp for the first time who might not know about your role.
Yeah.
Would you share with us exactly what it is that you do with the Golden Knights?
Sure. I don't know, the easiest way to explain it is I'm almost their personal coach, their big brother, but my job is to help them learn what it means to become not only a pro, but to be a Golden Knight. And I feel like I have the best job in the world. I work for, I think, the best organization, the best owner, president of hockey ops, GM, all the way down. So with any job, it's the people, right? And we all have the same common beliefs, right? And we work well together. It's a very low ego group, and it's my job to bring that information to the players, and really just to be a bridge between the players and George and Kelly, but also between the players and Butch, right? Coach Cassidy, I would say Butch. And I needed to get them ready to play for Ryan Craig and Henderson, for Coach Cassidy in Vegas. And the biggest compliment that they can give me is, you know, this kid was ready to go right away. So
yeah, when I think about development camp, I think about these young players transitioning from almost no professional input at all. You could be playing for a high school someplace, and next thing you know, you're putting on a sweater of the team that won the Stanley Cup just a year ago. There's the logistics, but how about the mental side of it? What do you say to these guys to help them get ready for this?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We've just always done it this way because we want the kids to feel comfortable. I always meet them, as you know, because you came over to say hi to one of your, not former high school classmates, but a young man who went to your high school.
Yeah, go Ridgewood Maroons.
But, you know, I want to greet them when they come to the Red Rock. Maybe they haven't been to Vegas before. Vegas can maybe seem a little intimidating. Yeah. And, you know, we go through some of the things in terms of, you know, don't be late, be 5 minutes early and all that. But I always say, are you a little nervous? And yeah, I am. And, you know, just relax. Everybody is. And I try to calm them down. And I tell them all the same thing, whether they're drafted or a free agent. That is, you know, you're here for a reason. And it's, you know, you play a certain way. Play that way this week. Don't try to be something that you aren't. Don't try to be somebody that you aren't. You know, be you. So,
what is the best part of this week?
Oh, the best part for me is being with the kids. Once they're all checked in, their flights, all those things. Once they're actually here and on the ice, like today, yesterday, once they hit the ice, that's the best part. Yeah. You know, going to the baseball game later, going to a circ show, things like that, and just spending some time with them. One of my favorite activities is, you know, when we go work with Catholic Charities and feed those people in the Vegas community who are in need, right, of some meals. And we've done that since year one, as you guys know, too. And that's a very important piece because, as you guys know, we're so entrenched with this community. And that's a message that we send right away to the kids is this organization, this community is tied, and we give back. And this is just a great thing to do.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. If I'm any one of these guys for the first time and I'm going back home and my friends or family are asking me, hey, you know, what was it like? What would you want them to say about this experience?
Biggest thing that we want the kids to know is what it means to be a Vegas Golden Knight. And so hats off to Coach Cassidy and his staff for being here for a couple days. Like yesterday's practice, that was a Vegas practice, right?
Yeah,
today,
you can tell. It looked familiar.
Right? And so that gives them a little snapshot. Today they had the pregame skate. Now they've got the game. They're doing a postgame lift with Jeff Conkle and Doug Davidson. This is what it looks like on the ice. But more important, this is what it looks like off of the ice. Right? These are kids. Right, and they're still growing, not just physically but mentally, right? And so it's our job to teach them what it means. And at the end of the week, we meet with each one of them, and I ask them, do you understand, and what else do you need from us to understand? But they're all like, no, we get it. This is pretty special.
How much growth do you see in a week like this? What changes from, if it's someone's first camp, maybe what you see on day one versus on the scrimmage Saturday when they head out of town?
Yeah, usually the first, this is actually a great pace. I was just saying it for the first scrimmage. And
picked up,
yes,
too,
yes.
Picked up as it went.
But usually it gets better, the second scrimmage, because the nerves aren't there as much, and they've got their touch back too, right? It's a little bit different, your summer skates compared to a Coach Cassidy practice or a Ryan Craig practice. So, yeah, you're going to see growth for sure. It's a great question from day one to the end of the week. But also, Ashley, we want to see, is there growth if someone who's been here before from last year to this year, right? And that's what we're looking at as well.
Will Nichol is our guest, oversees player development for the Golden Knights. Dan Duva, Ashley Weiss, getting ready for period 2 in just a few minutes. Well, I'm always interested about the growth of not only an individual player, but also of an organization. Can you give us some context looking back, say, 6-7 years? Because there are going to be some guys who we're talking about today who in 5 or 7 years we're going to be talking about as mainstays for the Golden Knights. Now that the Golden Knights have been around for 7 years, can you look back at maybe some of the names that we were talking about here?
Yeah, well, and also growth with, we didn't have this building, our first development camp.
Yeah.
So we did our off ice at Bishop Gorman.
Yeah.
We did our on ice at I think it was the Vegas, is it the community center? Is that what it's called? So, yeah, I mean, I always tell people when George asked me to come with him, we didn't have anything. It was a pile of dirt. We didn't have equipment or anything. But to your point, the first dev camp, some of the names that were at that were Logan Thompson, right? Were Nick Hague, were Dylan Coughlin, right? Those guys all played for the Knights. And the other thing that I tell the kids, too, is you might meet your best friends here. So, like, Hager's getting married this week. Who are 2 of his groomsmen? Cody Glass, right, our first camp, Dylan Coughlin, right? So the game is the game. There's always going to be changes. Nothing lasts forever, which is sad, right? But that is pro sports. But the friendships and the relationships that you're going to make from these camps, from these teams, go on forever.
With that in mind, how would you summarize what the experience was like? I'm sure there were some blackout moments at the time that you don't even remember.
The first year?
The excitement. No, but seeing a Nick Hague, who was there in the first development camp, then lifting the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, so one of the best parts actually just happened. Hager's here, and he was just here. He said, "Hey, my mom and dad are here. They want to see you." So I went out to the parking lot. And I got a big hug from Bob and Sheila, and we caught up. And the last time I did that was when we won the cup. They were on the ice. They gave me a big hug. I don't know if you guys are trying to get me to cry here or whatever, but you get emotional. You get emotional. Those were the best moments for me that night, was hugging those guys, being with Zach Whitecloud, Nick Hague from the start, LT, whoever it might be, but also for me being with George since 2011 and knowing how hard George and Kelly have worked to get to that point. A lot of people don't know the behind the scenes, the sacrifices, the time away from home. And I picked George up and gave him the biggest hug. It's one of my favorite pictures, his too. So yeah, we'll walk together forever. There's no question.
Our guest is Will Nichol. We're about to start the second period, but I have one last question to that end of spending so much time away from home. What's an average frequent flyer amount? How many miles in a year for you?
That I don't know, but it's I always get diamond the highest with.
It's got to be six-figure miles.
But I'm it's 180 to 200 days that I'm gone. Yeah. Depends on the year. Yeah, my wife Elise is a saint. Yeah. She's an absolute saint. She gets it. She's an ex-athlete, but even then, there's tough stretches when you're gone for long periods. So yeah.
Well, Will, thank you for all that you do for the organization.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Have
Always
a great
chatting.
Okay, thanks guys.
That's Will Nichol. We've had conversations with Will during development camp, rookie camps throughout the year. Ashley, we bump into him on the road sometimes. And, he said, I think quite appropriately, he's a personal coach for these younger players who are often living away from home in junior ranks or at college. And there's different ages, right? And some of them are a little bit older. You might be, just the way that the sport works, you might be a freshman in college, but you might be 21 or 22, whereas others are truly teenagers living away from home. And anytime that Will Nichol is at a rink someplace, I'd imagine that is a good feeling for whatever Golden Knight prospect is getting to visit.
Without it, if you can't tell, he has such a calming presence. It's incredible.
Exactly.
Even just sitting here listening to him, it's just
I
such
want
a
him to
calming
come visit me.
presence.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I want him to come up to the booth and hang out with us.
I think he would make a good life coach for anyone.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's really well said. He's just got the demeanor that puts guys at ease when he talks about, hey, you feeling nervous? Like, you could just imagine these guys, they're gung-ho, ready to play in development camp, and here's Will to help put them at ease.
Certainly a level of accountability, too, though. He makes sure that they continue to grow the way that they're supposed to grow and are doing the things they need to be doing on and off the ice.
That's a good point.
Develop.
Well, there's Jacob Demick to get the puck in for Team White, now skating right to left in period 2. They are playing 3 60-minute periods. Let's try that again. 3 20-minute periods.
I was going to say, we're going to be here a while, Dan.
Otherwise, we'd be here until Saturday. Yeah, 3 20-minute periods, totaling 60 minutes. They're going to let them play. We're not expecting power plays or penalty kills. And so far, no scoring. Icing just a couple of minutes in to period 2.
As you heard Will Nichol say, they're impressed with the pace so far.
Yeah, it's fun. For those of you who've come to watch practice or camp here at City National Arena, the team offices are on one side of the ice, so Ashley and I, with our other broadcast colleagues, will watch from over there. And you can see at the top of your screen, there are some folks in the hockey operations department looking from their window. And then Will Nichol and company are just beside our video camera that you see at center ice. But it's always fun for us to kind of watch and keep an eye on how those folks are reacting,
yes,
the scouts and the rest of the staff, to what they see. They're watching the games just like we are.
If you're a player, you don't want to look up and see how they're reacting if you're trying to make those nerves not take over. But
look like Leslie Stickfelder. As did Leslie, number 43 there in red. And Team Red recovers well enough to get the puck back deep. That's got to be a terrible thing. Here you're trying to make a good impression. You got the puck at the point, and oh my goodness, stick breaks in 2. Now what? How do you recover? I think actually one of the words that came up as the quick snapper comes on net and save, there's that word adversity. I think that was the word we heard, along with excited and growth, words like that from Will Nichol and company today. That word adversity crops in. Players experience it in different ways on the ice, off the ice, but it's not so much the adversity itself, it's how you respond to it.
exactly. That's something they keep an eye on, whether it's players not getting the ice time that they expected to have throughout the season, but then coming back and having a good second half of the season, whether it's players going from the ECHL to USHL, coming up and down more than they expected to, not getting the minutes they expected to. That's something that they keep an eye on. It's not just about how you play on a night in, night out basis, but how you respond. In fact, we're not on camera right now, so you can't see the visual, but Will Nichol puts his arm up to show the straight line and says that's not how it goes. It's more of a roller coaster up and down, but as long as you continue to trend in the right direction, that's what they look for.
Christopher set off the player to put it towards the net, and the puck ends up in the goal. After that play from the point by Setoff, we'll see who will get credit for it.
Not making a good partner so far, Dan. Talking over the first goal. My apologies.
Not at all. It might have been Samuel Mayer, who you see there in the middle of your screen, at Ottawa 67. Number 96 in red.
Who else was in Ottawa 67 back in the day, Dan? Duva?
Does he have a nickname?
Bruce Cassidy.
That's right.
This guy they're keeping an eye on said it might be a slow cooking situation, but again, it's how you continue to grow in the right direction, and that in fact was him that put it in the back of the net. It's a good way to start making that impression.
No doubt about it. And again, the play was started by his partner Chris Setoff, who was in Henderson last year. That one comes in and is stopped. Vikman remains in net for Team White in period 2.
I mentioned Setoff with the setup there. They were really impressed with his year in Henderson as well. I think he's going to be a legitimate NHL prospect and player one day.
That's the trick in all of this. These guys wouldn't be here if they didn't have some level of potential to help this organization. Others, of course, whether it's a higher draft choice and even some who are not higher draft choices, are found under the radar by the terrific scouting staff. There's potential for every guy in a sweater today to, at some point, play professional hockey, maybe even in the NHL. Play in the slot leads to perhaps a 2-on-1. A save by Vikman. Sloan Stanek, the lefty out of Prince Albert with that opportunity down the right wing. Haven't seen too many 2-on-1s or odd man chances, but as the pace is picked up, I wonder if that'll happen increasingly here this afternoon. Red team with an offensive zone takeaway. They've had the better of the chances in the middle frame, and now a shot off the crossbar is in. That came from up top. Lucas Gustafson from the mid-slot. Bar down, and the red team leads 2-0. 2 goals early in period 2.
Out of Boston College, lost to Denver in the national championship. Denver, anytime we say that, we have to give a nod to Golden Knights video coach Dave Rogowski.
Ah, yes. That's Lucas Gustafson. We've seen defensemen putting up the points here. Set off to Mayer, and now Lucas Gustafson. Team Red blue line putting up the goals and the points. And a 2-0 advantage. And looking for more, maybe another 2-on-1. Saved by Vikman. Boy, I'd say, Ashley, if you had to pick a team that had more ozone opportunities in the first, it would have been Team White.
Without a doubt.
Been Team Red with far better opportunities to score in the first 5 or so minutes of the second. And a 2-0 lead. Vino holds the one. And an onside play. That drive didn't get through. Finally a breakout for Team White. They will dump and change it up. Well, Ashley got to chat with a handful of the prospects yesterday after their first on-ice practices. Who are some of the people that you talked to?
Talked to Lucas Van Vliet. He stood out to me because for someone who had just gotten into town, just been through the draft experience, the excitement and the sincerity on his face and in his voice was incredible. It was one of those reminders of this is what makes our job so fun, Dan, getting able to talk to people in the midst of some of the best moments of their lives. That was the case for him, without a doubt. We spoke to Christopher Studoff as well.
Icing. Whistle there.
Trent Swick, another pick for the Golden Knights at the draft. And we'll continue to talk to prospects as the week goes on.
Yeah. As we mentioned, not everybody who is at camp is in the lineup for today's scrimmage. But as the sessions of practice will continue on to another scrimmage on Saturday. So we'll have that. Rabinets, Connolly, and Cataford, top line for Team White. And Arthur Cholash out of Sioux Falls will make that play out of the point. And into the slot for a backhander. That one stop, Trevor Connolly. First round pick from the other day. The opportunity right in front of the crease. Connolly wearing number 24. Goes right to the net front. Now joins in back behind with Cataford trying to set up Connolly in the corner. Crossing there with Rabinets. And finally, Connolly stripped to the puck. And it's a 4-on-2 developing for Team Red. From the slot, the back check. Cataford breaks up that play. And now a stretch ahead. Connolly through the circle. 3-on-1. And an extra pass. And a third try is deflected in. What a look for Fleming, the beneficiary after a lot of impressive passes in transition for the top line. Joe Fleming gets the goal. And it's now a White team trailing 2-1.
He was described as universally loved and one of the most popular guys out there, loved by his teammates, loved by any locker room he walks into, and right now loved by Team White. Dan, he gets him up on the board.
Had 3 goals in the ECHL last year in 65 games for St. I remember chatting with Joe a couple years ago. He's a veteran of these Golden Knights camps, and that personality just bubbling. What he's like on the ice and off the ice, from what we understand. Boy, he can really be a tough guy to play against, but a gentleman off the ice.
They say it's a stark contrast. Maybe a little bit like Shane Knighty, don't you think? Mean on the ice.
The sheriff.
A teddy bear off it, although he wouldn't like you to say that.
Yeah,
but Darren Millard likes to really peel back those layers to try to get this offside of Shane out there.
And a stop that time for Lindbaum.
You know, another guy who was out there for that goal you asked who we chatted with yesterday, Matthew Cataford, was another one of those players, and he was funny yesterday, talking about, you know, the difference playing. He played his first handful of AHL games at the end of the season, asked what's the difference, and he says, well, you go from playing with kids to playing with Adam Cracknell, who has kids. So
yeah.
It's a funny moment of him talking about, you know, how that kind of sums up how different it is to go and play at the professional level amongst men.
Some of these guys are not too far removed from playing just in high school, as you mentioned. If you're getting drafted, you're likely 18 years old, which would be the age of most high school graduates. And some have played junior hockey following their high school, or they've got a junior and then proceeding on to college. But a lot of those college players commit when they're 15 or 16 as well. No path seems to be identical to another. Some are more well-trod than others, but each guy has his own story. And that's why it's fun for us to get to know these guys now. Tyler Koff among them. Number 56 in red, or Jack Stockfish.
Speaking of high school, Dan, at the next stoppage, I would love for you to share your story about the Ridgewood alum.
Yeah, so Tyler Koff is one of those guys. He's at Brown as late 2-on-1 developing, and the shot was shanked. Mikeman makes the save. Yeah, Tyler Koff was born the year that I graduated high school, and 18 years later, he graduated from the same high school, Ridgewood, New Jersey, Bergen County. And while that town in North Jersey has produced some hockey players, many would move on to a program that was at a level higher than, say, public high school in New Jersey. But Coach Lou Casey, who's been at Ridgewood now for 20 years, his first year on the staff was my senior year of high school. And he was Tyler's coach at Ridgewood. They had talked, and there was a decision made to play all 4 years at Ridgewood High. Committed to Brown when he was a teenager, but then played 2 years in the USHL. That was an awakening. But Tyler, an impressive young man, he reached out to me. I have to admit, I didn't know of him. Here's a breakaway for Team White. And the stop. Lindbaum makes the save. And got to chat with Tyler on Sunday afternoon and got to hear a little bit about his story. That is different. No one from that high school in North Jersey had gone the route that he has gone. Now getting to play in the Ivy Leagues.
Go Maroons, I hear?
Yeah, that's right. The Ridgewood Maroons, just like the Montreal Maroons. The now defunct NHL franchise. And guess what color they were?
Blue. Green, purple. Kind of purple, I guess. It's in the family.
There you go. There have been a number of pro athletes that have come to Ridgewood, but I'm not sure how many might have come up to the professional ranks in the hockey world. Been some great football players and lacrosse players.
They like Tyler Koff to describe him as smart, big, but soft hands.
He told me he compares himself to Alex Tuck. 6'4". Alex played at Boston College, out of Baldwinsville, New York. Show off that size and the touch as well. Speaking of high schools, I think we've got Marco Billick now in goal for Team Red, who's at a Cushing Academy. So he was born, again, talking about just coming out of high school. He was born in 2006. In transition for Team Red.
That'll make you feel old.
Jet Jones with that look, number 91 in red, was with Savannah last year. And they'll regroup in the neutral zone. Yeah, that really threw me for a loop. We're talking about guys who were born. I tell you, Tyler was born right down the street from where I lived in Ridgewood, New Jersey. But see these ages now. Boy, it is, for those of us who've been around for a few years, you're starting to really scratch your head. Wow. That's an offside play. It's a 2-1 lead for Team Red.
What an experience for a young goalie as well, just to come in and experience this kind of talent. That's one that they did use the metaphor of drinking from a fire hydrant or fire hose, but you know, what a good experience for him and someone who Mike Rosati is very glad to have here, and they're excited to see what he can do. So he takes advantage of the opportunity.
Got a look at Billick, number 39, out of Cushing Academy, born March 3rd, 2006. Draft eligible. Listed at 6'2", 184 pounds. Pitching with his left hand. 2-1 lead for Team Red, past the halfway mark of period 2. Here in our first scrimmage of Development Camp 2024. Did you see the fancy folder that I broke out here, actually? To show this stoppage. Fancy Ridgewood Maroons.
I think the viewers are going to love this, Dan.
Dug into the archives, dusted off the cobwebs. Some of you might be wondering, Dan, you didn't play high school hockey, did you? No, I did not. I did broadcast high school hockey. There's a stop made by Billick, who gets the stop to his left on Demick. So if we, our friends behind the scenes would like to see my fancy folder, there it is.
There it is.
Maroons on ice.
Go Maroons.
I have had this folder, and there's I designed that logo when I was 15.
Wow, you have graphic design in your portfolio as
well.
well.
We had to do it all.
What doesn't Dan Duva do?
so that the program was brand new in the 90s. And by the time I came along, the popularity had really soared. And my freshman year of high school, the team was in the Final Four in the entire state of New Jersey. Then lost to the Bayonne Bees. So.
That's impressive, Dan. I don't know if I own one thing from high school. Good for you.
Well, it was. It's such a formative experience for any of these guys, and you know, for yours truly, high school was 20 years ago. There are so many great memories, and you know, just talking with some of them who are training at home, their hometown, and it might be in the States or in Canada and some overseas. But they're often, when they go home, they're skating with people who they knew at a lower level of hockey. You know, a lot of friends might not have reached the next level. And then you get to the point where, some of those people turn into NHLers. So you just keep on skating with the same people in a lot of cases. The drive just misses the cage. Pretty good looking wrister from Will Nichol, who's getting to play with Zapovalov and Hemel. At the other end, Shane Smith, that opportunity from the left wing. Smith again. From the middle and a one-timer, swing and a miss. It stays in the zone. Under 7 minutes to go in the second. Team Red leads 2-1.
Will Nichol, he was a late add to the top line. He went from being an extra forward. Jordan Gustafson, who was expected to play, is not in the lineup today. So Will Nichol in. That name sounds familiar. Son of Kevin Nichol. Grandson of Bill Nichol. Bill, short from William. Will, also short from William.
Kevin has been with the Devils organization as the head coach in AHL Utica last few years. Kevin has been head coach of the NHLs with the Panthers. Go back to his playing career. Hartford Whaler for a long time with Sean Burke. Flyers, Hurricanes, Blue Jackets.
Almost 1,200 NHL games.
At the University of Denver, Kevin Nichol, and now getting to see Will Nichol, who's at Yale. And will turn 24 years old in November. coming up, we'll have a couple of features to share with you in our second intermission report. And one of them, Ashley, will be about not that goaltender, Marco Bilic, but another one, Cameron White.
Yes, had a chance. We might be seeing Gary Lawless here in this. I know he went out to Northeastern to talk to Cameron Whitehead during the season. They really, really like the way he's developing, not only on the ice, but off the ice as well.
A wide entry and a 3-on-3 for Team White. We'll have to regroup at neutral ice. Cade Lamy with a couple of different stops in his collegiate career. Last season with Arizona State, headed to Minnesota State. From the point of drive, that one I don't think got all the way through. This is the defensive duo that got that earlier goal. 96 Mayer and 44 Settles. Set off back to cut off Trevor Connolly's attempted entry. And back up ice for Team Red.
Set off draws comparisons to Zach Whitecloud from the development staff. To put that into perspective, you can keep an eye on number 44.
That is a pretty good comparison. I would be thrilled to hear that if it was said about me.
On or off the ice.
Yeah. Out in front for a couple of hacks. Actually saw Zach Whitecloud earlier today. Zach does spend a good chunk of his offseason in Las Vegas, utilizing the ice here at City National Arena. Caden Korzak as well.
Speaking of Caden Korzak, that's another story. You know, he came through multiple of these development camps, and you heard Kelly McCrimmon say yesterday he believes Caden Korzak is ready to be an everyday NHL player.
That's about as definitive as I think we've heard Kelly McCrimmon about an up-and-coming player. Loose puck in front. That is in the goal. What a shot from Pinar, going top right corner. Found the loose puck in the slot and puts Team White into a 2-2 tie, erasing what was a 2-0 deficit. Bernard had 24 goals for Savannah last year. In 59 games, total 48 points.
We were talking about his shot and how they challenged him to shoot more.
Bingo. And in the right spot for it, too. Good things happen when you go to the net. How many times do you think these guys have heard that over? Be interesting to see how the Golden Knights look at players from recent development camps in filling out the 24-25 opening day lineup. Naturally, with every year come more opportunities. And perhaps Ashley, one of those young guys, mentioned, of course, on the defensive side with Caden Korzak, but also up front with Pavel Dorofeev. Got to play a number of games in the NHL this year, but we expect an increased role for him. That's, again, not too far removed from turning pro in this organization.
It seemed like just about every time he entered the lineup, he scored. Did it not?
It sure did.
The statistics don't back it up completely, but man, did it feel like it.
And timely goals, too. There was that one game where he wasn't even supposed to play. Chandler Stevenson was ill, scratched from the lineup. Pavel goes in and scored 2 goals, including a winner. I think it was against Minnesota.
So much of it too early on would look like he was just right place at the right time. But that's what would lead Bruce Cassidy to talk about his hockey IQ. He said it takes work to be in the right place at the right time.
Pino out at the right point for Team White, kept it in. Now it's turned back up ice for Team Red. And Team White will start to change. With the defense caught back. The wrist shot blocked. They are in the way of that drive. Back comes Team White. Inside the final few minutes, period 2, and a 2-2 tie. All 4 goals in the game scored here in the second period. First 2 from Team Red, and then a couple from Team White. Smothering crunch against the boards. Play continues. Remember, no penalties or power plays expected to be called. I guess that's particularly egregious. Penalty shots, maybe. Trying to dig it out along the boards. Team Red does work it to center, and the lead pass gets through. Score! Jet Jones turned on the afterburners. Lefty rips it home, and Team Red takes a 3-2 lead.
Someone who exceeded expectations in his last season. Go-ahead goal here.
We've seen so many of the setups in transition here in the second period after we did not see too many of them in the first period. There's Jet Jones. That puck almost didn't get to him initially. He was patient, didn't get too far ahead of the puck, or else he might have gone offside.
More of what you pointed out earlier, though, the white team sustaining the ozone pressure, the red team with the transition game going.
We're into the final couple of minutes. Jolash back. The defenseman helps it forward. And alongside Fleming to get the puck through center. Down to the final minute. 1 to go in the second period. 3-2 Team Red. Team Red has not trailed, but did give up that 2-goal edge. Connolly, Braminetz, and Cataford, the forwards. Jolash and Fleming, the D pair for Team Red. As Team Red gets the puck in. Abram Reed was the defenseman. Now comes side of the net, and a kick stop. No, it's into the goal. From right at the side of the net. And indeed, Jack Stockfish, the goal scorer, at a Holy Cross.
And they were excited to see him because it's not the Strong's Conference for Holy Cross, so they were excited to see what he would do against, maybe some of the tougher competition he's played against. Maybe getting an answer here early in development camp.
Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, at the center of the state, west of Boston, an hour, depending on Boston traffic. Another look in the final seconds, 2-on-1 developing, another goal. This time, it's Tyler Kopp, the Ridgewood Maroon, number 56 in red, out of Brown University.
Representing, Dan.
Am I allowed to say go Maroons?
You just did.
Well, for a young player aspiring to grow up in the world of hockey, to be surrounded by NHL teams in that area, Devils, Rangers, Islanders, grow up around some excellent hockey. Think of the commitment that it takes to break through, and hockey is not exactly known in that area. To not go off and play in some junior level, but to stick it out with your high school team and then get to this point. Impressive.
You said it, everyone has their own story, and that's what makes it so fun to talk about it and watch these stories play out. Who's going to be the next star?
How about that? So Team Red took a lead in this one, 2-0. Team White got it back to 2-2. But then a few goals for Team Red in the final minutes. 5-2 is the score after 40 minutes of hockey in our first scrimmage. Well, actually, we saw no goals in the first 20, and now we've seen 7.
We should have known when Will Nichol told us in the first intermission that they were pleased with the pace. We should have known it was going to ramp up there in the second period. It sure did, and I guess now we'll see who stands out in the third. You never know in these scrimmages. Very possible that we see a comeback here. We'll see.
Yeah, that is the fun of it, and if anybody jumps off the page, our eye is not going to be as relied upon as, say, the staff's eye. Well, I'm sure here in coming days, if there were players who stood out, naturally there will be a lot of eyeballs on Trevor Connolly. Anything that you have seen from the Knights' #1 draft choice from just a few days ago?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, as advertised, I would say. Again, they're really pleased with what they've seen from him in practice yesterday. They're pleased with what they've seen off the ice as well, and the person that he's been. So what stands out to you about him on the ice in the scrimmage so far?
Well, I think that goal that was scored by Joe Fleming, Connolly, Brabenitz, and Cataford were out there for Team White as the top line. And they had a sequence of passes in the offensive zone that was hard for us to keep up with. And it was Fleming, the defenseman, who finished it off. But there was a certain commitment to that play to keep it going and not forcing the play and ultimately getting the goal. So I would say that if there is one line that has jumped out, it has been Connolly's line. But then at the same time, you had the first couple of goals come from the red team blue line. So there's been, after a first period with no goals, pace started to pick up. Pace continued to pick up, and then a few more in the back of the net.
And then that pair of Joe Fleming and Archer Trolach as well seem to be involved in action end to end.
Yes, indeed. And with that, speaking of what we have seen today, someone that we have not seen today is goaltender Cameron Whitehead, Ashley. And we've talked about this a couple of times. We're going to get a little glimpse into exactly who Cameron Whitehead is.
Let's check it out, Dan.
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right, so the Vegas Golden Knights trading up to get a goaltender, and with that pick, they select goalie Cameron Whitehead.
It was super exciting. Vegas is such a good organization, so I'm more than excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Up the middle, cutting toward the net, Gamache is in, and a big save made by Whitehead. Cutting in toward the net, a backhander is denied.
Humphrey in the clear, it was backhand, left toe stopped by Whitehead.
When you think about Cameron Whitehead, technical aspects, you got the athletic abilities. Goaltending is about perfection. It's like pitching in baseball. You got to learn how to goaltend. He's got all the elements. You look at a foundation of a goaltender. He's got a foundation. Now he's going to put in the work, and now it's just getting the people around him to work on those fine details of goaltending.
First off, great human being, routine oriented, a person that is diligent within his craft. Over the last 5 months, not only have we seen a skill set improve from a goaltender, but a mental standpoint as far as leveling up, maturation, and just trusting himself in his own game. The one thing with Cam that we've talked about lately is resolve and resiliency. You learn from the experience itself. You take those key elements from the game and then carry it on to the next in the process of development.
Whitehead, he goes to the forehand. Whitehead makes the save.
When you come to Northeastern, the Beanpot is a big deal. It's a big deal to school. It's a big deal to our president. It's a huge deal to the alumni. And when you're playing in front of 18,000 people in that final game, there's a lot of pressure. It's an interesting game because it's a championship game in the middle of the season against your rivals. And for Whitey to perform as well as he did with that much pressure, because you don't know until you get into the game.
Peterson comes in, tries to get to it. He thinks it's in the net. You see how he's got his skates? One outside and one inside the post there. He's just going to show good leg strength and then doesn't move.
Near side. Green turns, fires another save for Whitehead. Tried to drop it for Ritzkovi, and he gets it back. Fontaine shoots, he scores! Gunnar Will Fontaine in overtime for the second straight Monday. Call it a modern-day Beanpot dynasty. The Huskies have won 5 of the last 6 Beanpots here in the Garden.
It was one of the most special things that's ever happened to me in hockey, for sure. You never really understood how much it means to a school until I think you win it. Obviously, the whole doghouse and the upper bowl, and then coming back from campus, everyone's outside waiting for us. They're incredibly special to play in front of, and it's a privilege every single day to be able to put that jersey on and play in front of these people.
He checks every box of what you want a Golden Knight to be. He's a leader. He's got great character. He comes from a great family. He's got a great work ethic, both on and off the ice. Helps out in the community. He's humble, confident. You know, he's got every characteristic that those guys want to see.
You know, staying focused on being where my feet are every single day. You know, I can't get there if I'm not present here. So as long as I'm focused on getting 1% better every single day. Obviously, I think about it, but you know, trying to do the best I can here.
When the Golden Knights were in town to play the Bruins, some of the staff got to go over and see Cameron and put that terrific piece together. As we embark on the second intermission here at our first scrimmage at Development Camp, brought to you by Martin Harris Construction. And before we get to the third period of play, Ashley, quick thought on Cameron Whitehead, what you saw there.
I mean, if that doesn't get you excited about a player that the Golden Knights have coming down the pipeline, then I don't know what does. You know, it's such a good head on his shoulders advice that not even hockey players, but I think everyone could take in at some point. You know, staying present in the moment. Those are things that everyone has to remind themselves of sometimes. So seeing him do that, win the Bean Pot, you know, hopefully we are able to see him a little bit more this week as the week goes on. But good stuff for that goaltender. You know, goalies take a little bit longer to develop than others. So to see, you know, him having so much success at this stage in his career and impressing his coaches there, impressing the development staff here, really good signs for Cameron Whitehead.
He just turned 21 years old a few weeks ago, drafted in the 4th round 2 years ago, 2022, 128th overall. Of course, there was a draft just a few days ago right here in Las Vegas, and the Golden Knights were a part of that. Several of the people involved in that draft are involved in development camp. So let's take a look back at what happened down the street at the Sphere at the 2024 NHL Draft.
The 19th selection of the 2024 Amateur Draft. We're proud to select from Tri-Cities of the USHL, Trevor Connolly.
Good to see you. Thank you. I'm so excited. What do you think? It's an unreal experience. It's so odd. It's crazy sitting around in this place. So excited. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Yeah. I've been to one Knights game actually. Yeah. I went to. I think it was the first year you guys were a team. Yeah. I went to one game. It was sweet. I think just the fans, like the atmosphere, kind of just like how nice the arena was too. Like it was so like modern and new.
Sort of a sigh of relief.
Yeah, I think it's just like I'm just happy. I think I love the game of hockey more than anything in this world, and I think I'm just excited to be drafted in the National Hockey League. It's been a dream of mine my whole life, and I don't even have words for how I'm feeling or how excited I am. Gee, Trevor, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm more than excited. I'm so excited.
Nice
to meet you.
That's good on you, man.
Thank you. I love the colors. Yeah.
Don't go to Providence for too long.
Yeah, no. Love you, man. You deserve this. You deserve so much, man. Thank you so much. Love you, man. Thank you, man. Yeah. Like that? Okay.
A little bit closer. Yeah.
What's up?
Let's go!
I love you guys.
Love you.
So happy. Love you. I'm so happy. So awesome. So cool. People are so excited.
People are so proud of you. Love you so much. Love you so much.
How you feel? So happy.
the Sphere for the draft just a few days ago. Trevor Connolly, drafted by the Golden Knights, first round, 19th overall. And Ashley, the fact that you're drafted by the team in the hosting city,
yep,
particularly special, and then in a venue that has been the attention of the globe, not just Las Vegas. I think that when you watch that piece, yeah, Trevor's excited. Then towards the end, especially after embracing the family, then you see it kind of hit him a little
That's
bit.
when the emotion starts to set in.
It's real. This is actually happening.
And I like that he's been to a Golden Knights game before, and he said it was sweet. I
It's
think that's how everyone would explain a Golden Knights game, right? We're going to have
Yeah.
to work. Is that word back in? Is sweet back in? Are we going to
Sweet.
work that back into the vocabulary?
Well, if Trevor wants it to be, we can make that happen. We'll see just how long it might be till he makes his Golden Knights debut.
Yeah.
That would be the dream for any of the players involved at development camp. And we do have 20 minutes to go, by the way. Stick around. We'll have what could be a very exciting third period. We had no goals in the first, and then 7 combined in the second period with Team Red in the lead 5-2 after taking 2-0 lead. But there is that opportunity, and you can only do so much in one practice or one scrimmage or even just 1 week of training camp. And it seems for the players who have been invited, Ashley, you're probably not going to do a ton of damage to your stock, but you can perhaps improve on your stock. It's not going to be the end of the world what happens here in the next couple of days. But boy, if you can make a good impression here, it'll stick with some people. Obviously, Trevor Connolly trying to make that happen. To see him number 24 right there on your screen.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's why they tell them not to be nervous. You know, like you said, you're not going to damage your stock if you don't jump off the page. But then there's the people you didn't expect to jump off the page who will do exactly that. And maybe we'll see more of that here in the third period from someone. And he'll be on that top line for Team White as the third period rolls on.
And there's Cataford carrying the puck to the corner, skating alongside Rabinets and Connolly, as we have seen throughout the afternoon. We'll go for a change here in the opening minute of period 3. And so now Team Red, which got the offense going from its blue line, and that blue line, as you see right there, Mayer getting the puck in. Set off is number 44, Mayer's number 96. They helped create that first goal of the contest. Senoff takes his man to the boards, back in the far corner. And now begins the breakout for Will Nichol. And all the way down it goes, it is an ice. Jordan Gustafson not able to go today, so Will Nichol in that spot with Sapovalov and Hemmerling on the red team top line.
Sapovalov's another guy to keep an eye on. The Golden Knights have really liked him, his development. He's a big centerman. Plays on center as the top line everywhere he goes, including last year's World Juniors against Connor Bedard. He's matched up against Connor Bedard most of that tournament.
Joe Fleming let that wrist shot fly, but caught the glass. And the red team clears. Bernard, Demick, and Bowman are forwards now for the white team. Bernard 53, Demick 13, Bowman at 85. From the point, the shot from Abram Wheat is grabbed and secured. Leonard Neese, the goaltender now. Team Red will change it up. There's Neese between the pipes. Taylor Duriante out of Princeton. Don't get that puck out of the zone. Number 75 in a row. Now the forwards go after it in the ozone. Taylor Duriante pinching in from the point to try to keep that play in the zone. Number 75.
An offensive defenseman, but they really like how the defensive side of his game has developed here over the last year or two. That's probably what they're watching more of.
He's shifting across the crease to make that save. Slap pass deflects around behind the goal. And the white team will break in. Try the stretch pass. Didn't quite click. You learn pretty quickly what works at the pro level and what doesn't compared to the junior college or amateur levels.
Right. Something you see even when, you know, AHL players get called up to the Golden Knights. They learn quick.
Yeah, you don't have time to make that play, or you better get that puck off your stick or keep your head up.
That is something Bruce Cassidy really believes in, though, is giving guys enough opportunity to learn those things. Giving them enough ice time to really get adjusted.
Forecheck pressure nearly created a turnover. Team White. The red team does settle it in for the breakout. Resistance from Pino. Red team carries in anyway. There with that look. There, watch that cross-ice pass here on the left. Goes to the net. And now we'll try to find the puck in the corner. Never got to him. Well, but the line set off for a moment. And then a little bit of a tangle. And remember, we're not expecting power plays or penalty kills in this contest. That would have been close. Deneen carries in on goal. And Leonard Neese has the save.
Still holding off for a penalty shot, although that would mean someone would have to commit that penalty, and that person does not want to do that, so maybe not.
Well, wherever you're watching us today, we thank you for tuning in. We'll have another live broadcast of the Development Camp Scrimmage on Saturday.
That's open to the public as well. So we'll be bringing it to you on the VGK digital channels just like this. I believe Brian McCormick will be joining for that one.
Voice of the Silver Knights in the American League. Great to see Brian the last couple of days, helping to organize some of the familiar faces, more familiar to him with several guys playing at least some games with Henderson last year.
And really great to listen to his insight just of how he's seen guys grow from year to year. Some guys who made their HSK debuts last year.
Ganniford to get it in, and that group will go for a change on the White side. Quickly up, Trent Swick rips it on goal. Trent Swick out of Kitchener in the OHL. 20-year-old, and drafted in the 6th round just a few days ago. Pick number 180.
Interesting, they said if he was not drafted, he was still going to come to this camp. So that tells you how long the Golden Knights have had their eye on number 76.
25 goals and 62 points in 63 OHL games last year. Breakout for Team White. Tangle, and that puck did come on goal. Marco Billick from Cushing Academy, netminder for Team Red. Carl Lindbaum had the start, and Farjestad. Billick will see the draw to his left. Stockfish won it against Denham. Race for the puck. Afterburners displayed by Tyler Kopp. Team White tries to clear it with resistance. Come back to the Team Red zone. And now Kopp helps it in. Trying to control it along the half wall. And then the rip from Stockfish knocked down. Kopp, Stockfish, and Knapp listed on the lineup card as the 4th line for Team Red. They have managed to create some offense. Always a tricky thing going from one level to the next, actually. Imagine when you're coming up, probably been the best player on every team you've been on, and then at some stage, that's no longer the case. And instead of being a top line winger, top pair defenseman, number 1 goalie, whatever it might be, now you've got competition. You might find your name penciled in on the 4th line. A number of these guys would have gone through that. I mentioned Tyler Koff. He was one of them after his 4 years of high school and then into the BCHL.
You mentioned that word adversity earlier. Something they look for. How do they come out of it? How do they deal with that competition? And that's something you're going to have to deal with once you get to the NHL level too, right? Whether even if you're a veteran who's, you know, starting to age, who's been used to being a top 6 player, you might be asked to play on the 4th line and accept that role as well.
There's Joe Fleming, the defenseman, carrying it deep into the zone. They'll retreat to a defensive posture and let the forwards go to work. But that pass slides by Harrison Scott out of the University of Maine. And now side of the net, a save, a scramble in front. And now out of the zone.
You mentioned, Dan, taking on the different roles. You have to imagine how good that is for their versatility down the stretch as well. I think of a guy like Ivan Barbashev, who's able to play a 4th line role, but able to play a top 6 role, but able to, you know, able to score, able to lay some hits.
Cataford sets up his play. Did not yield a shot on goal. It's an anxious effort there, but Team Red goes with a 2-on-1 the other way, making a 3-on-2 and a blocker save. Leonard Neese stays with it the whole way. And another look, Swinton right near the crease in red. The puck ends up in the trapezoid. Two against 3 on the entry. And it looks like Cataford's going to peel off. Rabinets goes in on the forecheck. And now stepping in from the blue line was Kane Lamy, who is 6'7.5". From the left circle, the shot comes on, and Billick makes the save with the left pad.
And that's without skates, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, just watching from our perch, you know, everybody looks like, you know, pretty decent size, but then some people just stand out physically. And Cade is with them at 6'7.5". 23 years old. Out in front, and a diving stop. Billick lunging to his left to keep it out. And maintain a 3-goal edge for Team Red, 5-2. Nearing the halfway mark of the third. Spin around from Demick to help protect it out to center and all the way down. Well, so much of development camp is showing you belong, but it's also about the information. Oh, a takeaway, almost, but an alert goaltender Marco Billick pokes it loose, preventing a shot on goal at close range. And Fleming will dump it back in. It's not just about what happens here, Ashley. Bruce Cassidy was talking about some of the information that the players will take when they go back home and train, and of course to school and junior hockey, wherever they might be playing in the field.
You have to take it with you. Every player here will leave with a laundry list of things to work on over the next season. And then some might be back in August for the rookie tournament as well.
The different categories, too. I mean, some of it is strength and conditioning. Some of it's food related. They've even spent time with the Golden Knights PR department talking about how to handle social media. There's a lot of stuff. There's an array of things that the Golden Knights as an organization want to instill in these players. Bruce Cassidy told us that had not been a thing when he was coming up, but he wished that it had been. Not only do you get to meet the people, but you're also better prepared to step into the professional ranks, carry yourself as a pro, so that when the time comes, you are not seeing it all for the first time.
Even things like learning how to cook properly, Dan. You know, these are elite,
I still could use a little bit of
These are
that.
still elite players for their age, but you have to remember their age sometimes, you know?
I mean, if you're 18 years old, I mean, do you even know how to, like, clean your own laundry or do the dishes and things like that? So for some of these guys, I think the answer is no, let alone how to cook sweet potatoes. I was amazed in my first year in the minors when you're on long bus rides and, you know, the post-game food is not exactly what a nutritionist would recommend, just whatever the local pizza joint had to serve. But some guys who perhaps were better prepared by the parent club would have meals in Tupperware. They claim some space in a bus refrigerator, and then they'd pop it in the microwave. And everybody, what do you got there? What is that? Why are you bothering with that? It was just part of what was a training regimen for these guys that had been what they were introduced to in situations like this development camp, and then implement it in your own life, wherever you might go, in the off seasons, during seasons, even after you turn pro at the lower levels. I mean, it's a lot of life habits that come from what's introduced in these days at development camp, especially for the first timers.
And it truly is such a big part of being a pro. Something that the fans don't always get to see is the work that the players put in off the ice, even after a game. They're out stretching, they're out doing weights after a game is finished.
Yeah, that's right. And just the workout routine for these guys.
The warm-up is my workout for a week, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right. I mean, it is a full-time gig. You think the offseason, well, first a takeaway, leading to this opportunity, but Billick holds his ground nicely and prevents a good look at close range. Just chatting with some of the guys, Ashley, about what they are doing back home. So not necessarily an organized practice or training camp, not necessarily with a team, just what their routines might be while they are at home, skating, their town rink or whatever it might be. As the offense gets set up, Kennard sends it out to the left point. And it's carried back down toward the corner. Trying to sneak one in front with Kennard occupying net front space. Didn't quite connect there. Team White trying to erase a 3-goal deficit. Jolish was the guy deep on the left. And now it's deep on the right. It is a, wake up early in the morning. If you've been in the hockey world, early mornings are usually part of the gig. But there's a lot of off-ice stuff, weight room stuff. There's on-ice activity. There's taking certain breaks. But, it can be all day, like until 5 o'clock. Like, it's not just a few hours in the morning. We're talking a full-day workout regimen. Oh, a quick pass and an equally impressive quick save on the slide by Neese to his right on a glorious opportunity for Team Red.
One of the best saves we've seen him play so far, Dan.
I do have to agree with that.
Talk about Dan too, just comparing what they're doing here versus what they've been doing at home, and this gives them an opportunity to just be a little bit more strategical with what they take back with them. Related to golf, if there's any golfers out there, they'll tell you don't just go out in the range and pound golf balls over and over. You need to have targets that you're aiming at. You need to have things that you're working on mechanically with your swing. So those are the kind of things they'll be able to take home with them regardless of who they're training with. Put a little bit more focus into that training regimen.
If anybody's got some golf tips for me, I will gladly accept them. It might not do any good. Something to focus on.
You said you saw Zach Whitecloud earlier. I think that might be your guy to talk to for that.
Oh yeah, it's just I'd be embarrassed to even ask him. Some of these guys, they could be on the PGA Tour. The way they strike the ball. Some of us who are thrilled just to break 100. I have broken 100.
Impressive.
Ashley with the deadpan of the broadcast. What's your handicap?
I don't have a handicap, Dan.
No?
I don't play enough for a true handicap, I will say that.
Yeah, well, at some point you do. I will
say I'm not breaking 90 these days, I can tell you that much.
You're still beating me. This has got the potential for odd man transition scoring, but the back check impressive from Team Red. Leading to this opportunity, 1-on-none. Off the pipe and out. Kyle Houcher with that opportunity, number 98 out of Drummond. 15 goals last year and 50 points. And a few of those breakaway opportunities. Drive from the right circle shut down. Rattler in the slot in Team White corrals. Pitch it in ahead of icing. Play continues for Team White. Grabinets joined down low. Connolly knocked down. Cataford looming as well. Without much puck movement, play down in the corner. We're inside the final 5 minutes of the third period. We have seen no scoring here in the third. It's a 5-2 lead for Team Red. 7 goals, all in the second frame. Cataford on the entry at the end of a shift. Play continues amid a line change in the O-zone. There's Joe Fleming. Cataford once more. Down the slot with a handoff. And the save. Billick ready for that at close range. With Pinard stepping into the offensive play. Number 53 right there. Billick will take a swig from the water bottle. Well, Ashley, while we have a moment, the start of free agency, of course, was yesterday, but it's worth noting that the Golden Knights did make a signing today. Victor Olofsson, who has been with the Buffalo Sabres to start his professional career. Been there for the last, been 5 years. Victor Olofsson signing contract with the Golden Knights today.
Good friend of Jack Eichel. Jack's already incredible at helping guys get acquainted into this locker room here in Vegas. It will be no different with him.
Tyler Koff lowering the shoulder, going right to the cage from the right side. Team Red withstands that charge. I should say Team White withstands that charge from Team Red. Koff, Stockfish, and Napper forwards out there for Team Red as we speak. Takeaway. Team White trying to get fresh legs on the ice amid a neutral zone possession. Now they've got the crew they want, and they'll get it in.
All the news this week, Dan. A lot of news with free agency. Also, the Golden Knights schedule out today.
Yeah.
The 2024-25 season.
There's a couple of interesting notes to the schedule. Plenty of time to digest all of it. We've got that Four Nations event happening, which leads us to a 2-week break in February. It's an unfamiliar element to the NHL schedule. That'll be an exciting event, essentially, when you normally have the NHL All-Star Game. A couple years ago, the NHL hoped to send its players to the Olympics, but COVID interrupted those plans. And beginning of something new, the Four Nations this year, this upcoming season, 24-25. The plan would be to introduce additional countries to that tournament in years to come.
Excited for that event. It will take place in Montreal and Boston.
And the Knights will
finish in Boston.
Yeah,
that road trip, right?
Exactly. Very convenient.
Thanks to the NHL for that.
Yep. No Jack Eichel. Of course.
You know he loves spending time in Boston.
Boston native. Knights will be there. Team USA perhaps will be there. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, it's October the 9th. First game that counts. Vegas against the Colorado Avalanche. Part of a 3-game homestand. St. Louis on the 11th, then the Ducks on the 13th before taking the trip out east. Washington, Tampa, and then the Panthers. Match up with the last 2 Cup champions there in the first week of the season. We're into the final minute here in the third period with Team Red ahead of Team White 5-2. Team Red had a 2-0 lead. Team White tied it up 2-2. Then Team Red railing off 3 straight. In rapid succession to finish off the second. Now a loose puck comes near Billick and it ends up just wide of his cage. You hear the pounding on the boards. You know the players like a particular play. Oh, it's caught another move from the right circle right to the cage. And once again, Leonard Nies, the German goaltender, shuts him down. Team White looking for last-ditch response. They have not pulled their goaltender, in case you're wondering. Leonard Neese stays in. The Team Red up by 3 in the final seconds of the contest. That is all she wrote for Development Camp Scrimmage number 1. Team Red victorious 5-2. Well, that was fun, Ashley.
It was fun. Like, you know, we talked about the pace picking up as it went on. Scoring picked up. We saw a little bit of skill. We saw some ozone pressure. We saw some transition plays. We saw some big stops from goaltenders as well. Definitely get the sense that it's going to be a good week here at City National Arena.
With the play on the ice from morning skate, conversations that took place behind the scenes. This is the first game action these guys have seen. You know, that's what they're here for. As much as you want to have all that stuff we talked about, the meetings and the video and the nutritional instruction and the weightlifting, the introductory events and the team gatherings, that's all great. It is. But the guys are here for this. Play games. It might not be the biggest of importance is placed on scrimmages, right? Not the outcome, but it's playing hockey. It is to them. There is a significant memory for a lot of these players right now who are taking place in an NHL development camp for the very first time.
And ironically, we talk about the nerves involved with it, but at the same time, on the ice is where these guys feel the most comfortable, right? So while they might be the most nervous going into a scrimmage, this is probably where they'll be the most comfortable and be having the most fun as the week goes on.
Home for the guys who are brand new to the organization, they have donned the Golden Knights sweater, and for those who have donned it many times before, whether in these camps or at the professional level, and ECHL, AHL, it might feel like old hat, but they know every opportunity on the ice is one to show his wares for the organization. Again, the final is 5-2 for Team Red, as we welcome you inside Studio 31 overlooking the ice here at City National Arena. Dan Duva with Ashley Weiss. Thanks very much for joining us. It has been a great couple of days, busy few days in the National Hockey League calendar, Ashley, with, of course, the Stanley Cup going to the Panthers. Then you have the NHL draft right down the road, start of free agency, and this development camp will carry us here into early July.
And it is an exciting week. Like we said, not only the scrimmage today, but they'll have an opportunity to do some volunteer work tomorrow. They'll have on-ice sessions on Thursday and Friday that fans can come out and watch, and then a scrimmage again on Saturday, which again, please come out, watch, give them the Golden Knights fan experience. We know that Vegas has incredible hockey fans, but on the same token, you can also tune in and watch that scrimmage here as well.
Yeah, I talked to Tyler Koff the other day, who scored a goal in this contest, about the attendance that fans come and watch not only Golden Knights practices, but, you know, rookie camp and even development camp practices. That makes a difference to these guys. They're almost like they let people see that. Or like, I'm not sure if I were a manager or a coach, I would want people to see that, but for the players, they love that energy. So it does get noticed. So if you're thinking about coming to a Golden Knights development camp session or scrimmage, it is noticed. It is noticed, and no doubt we have seen it when the Golden Knights are in the playoffs. It is it's special, and the reciprocation factor, it just helps the team and the community grow together. It is noticed, so if you can make it out to CNA, we certainly hope you can join us.
And like you said, you might just be seeing the next Golden Knights star in the making.
Yeah, you never know.
You could say, I was there when.
I was there when. It could be, you know, first-round pick Trevor Connolly. It could be fan favorite Joe Fleming, who's been around for a few years. Or it could be the guy who played 4 years at Ridgewood High School in Bergen County, New Jersey, Tyler Koff. Go Maroons. You never know.
A little bias from Dan there. But that's okay. We want everyone to succeed here.
Go Maroons. Way to go, Tyler. That'll do it for us. Ashley, any closing thoughts before we say so long for this broadcast of Golden Knights Development Camp?
Just that it's going to be a great week, Dan, and I had some shoes to fill, your normal partner. So thank you for letting me be here with you and talk over some of your goal calls and, you know, do my best I could here. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
Gary does it all. Great fun, Ashley. Thanks. Thanks to everybody behind the scenes. We've had a terrific crew making the pictures really speak to you and occasionally letting us speak to you. Hopefully we shared some stories about development camp and some of the participants that'll leave you interested in following along, not only this week, but also as these players embark on their careers, whether it be at the amateur level or the pro level, and maybe at some point with the Vegas Golden Knights. Thanks all to you for tuning in. You have been watching Development Camp, presented by Martin Harris Construction. For Ashley Weiss, Dan Duva saying good night.